Well, hi everybody. I'm John Ritland, and this is a relaunched rant about the WWE Women's Division and the regression in the booking since WrestleMania 35, especially because once Ronda Rousey left, if your name wasn't Charlotte or Becky Lynch, Vince McMahon didn't give a shit about you. Maybe he actually does behind the scenes, I don't know, but Vince McMahon has seemingly just told all his buddies, Bruce Pritchard especially on SmackDown, hey, the women, yeah, put them in like a 3-minute match and have them brawl and have them, do feuds just based on either having been best friends or just make it about other people's looks and, say, I'm better looking than you, and that's it. And don't add any meat to the goddamn feuds because it's not like women can actually have compelling feuds or anything. I'm talking like Vince McMahon, except I'm not nearly as insane as Vince McMahon. Let me be clear here. Out of all the women, in either NXT, NXT UK, Raw, SmackDown, I probably like 80 to 90% of them. There are very few that I don't particularly care for. And even the ones that I don't care for, okay, I'm gonna put those biases to the side because the women have had to work really, really hard for years and years and years and years and years before NXT was even the brand that it is now. When Emma and Paige went out there and tore it up at NXT Arrival, had probably the second best match or maybe even the best match of the night because they got to show on a worldwide platform what they were able to do. And, Emma, now Tennille Dashwood, and Paige, they were two of the best at that point under the WWE umbrella, and fucking hell, they tore it up, and they did a great goddamn job. Now, if we just want to focus on, from WrestleMania 35 on, Ronda Rousey leaves, and then you get Becky Lynch as a double champion. She faces off against Lacey Evans in a feud that should have been great. You have the man versus a lady of WWE. The story writes itself. And they didn't want to let them tell a good story. Now, did Lacey need a little more seasoning, a little more time? Sure. She had her, run in the 2019 Rumble. And then they did nothing with her. They had her on main event, and no offense against anybody that likes main event, but nobody really watches main event. I don't even think main event knows that main event exists. But they still did have some women's matches on there. I think Dana Brooke and Sarah Logan had a feud that lasted for about 15 years. I mean, I think it was only, a few episodes, but still, hey, at least they got featured somewhere. The problem is nobody was watching it. And then, speaking of which, you have some women that aren't being used all that well or used that often on TV. Sure, injuries happen. You want to let these women rest, and I totally understand that. But if you just focus on Becky and Charlotte and just bring up challengers and say, hey, we're just going to have them just devoured, then you have nobody left to challenge said, top women. And also the big problem with this is you need to utilize all the women that you have. NXT is an example of, sure, they got a few things wrong with the Shayna Baszler title reign that went on maybe a little bit too long. It did pay off with Rhea Ripley beating her, and now they have a fresh batch of challengers for Rhea to face. She's going to face Bianca, take over Portland here in a little bit, in just about a couple weeks. But with this women's division, the fact that they're having to fight and claw just to get a little bit of TV time, especially on Raw and SmackDown, is ridiculous. There are times on SmackDown where either they don't feature a women's match or like the one that they just had yesterday, or the one they even had last week. They have a women's match that maybe lasts a minute or 2 minutes, and then they will brawl and they do a cat fight and everything, and that's it. I just don't understand why the women are seen as so toxic by so much of this management, especially Bruce Pritchard, because let's be honest, Bruce Pritchard has never been exactly the smartest person when it comes to, dealing with the women or dealing with talent, because he doesn't know any fucking thing. If you listen to his podcast, you fucking know that, because he embellishes a whole lot of stories. I say this as a wrestling fan, of course, but watching what SmackDown has been since he's taken over as, head of creative, all he's doing is what Vince wants to do. Vince does not care about the women, or at least, more than 5% of the women, and it's very unfortunate because you could see the talent just bubbling under the surface. Bayley is SmackDown Women's Champion. She had a feud with Alexa that while it paid off with her getting revenge on Alexa for something that happened 2 years ago, still didn't go much of anywhere. Now she's turned heel, and they were turning her kind of into a mopey character. She wasn't really doing much of anything. Now she's kind of finding her stride and everything, and getting a little bit better on the promos and stuff like that. And she's got this building feud with Naomi, which I think could be a dynamite feud, as I think Naomi could do quite well against her. But then you just see all this stuff that's been happening, and you see NXT UK that's got some really talented women: Kaylee Ray, Jenny, Piper Niven, Toni Storm, so many others, so many others. And I mean, I apologize. Isla Dawn, who I think could be good, I think does need a little more seasoning, but is quite good. There's so many other women on there that are very good, and NXT, they're loaded. You got Vanessa Bourne and Aaliyah, who never get featured on TV all that much except a job. You got Dakota Kai, Tegan Knox. You got, I mean, Duke and Shafir. I'm not really a fan of them, but again, putting biases to the side. You got, so many other women here. You got Mia Yim. You got Io Shirai. Take a look at the goddamn roster page. It's insane. Rhea Ripley, Bianca Belair. Even though I think Bianca's going to be moving up pretty soon, Bianca had an incredible performance at the Royal Rumble, which, don't worry, I'm going to get to the Royal Rumble here in a little bit, but I'm just going to focus really right now on management as to why I don't get, or why I think that they don't like the women. And here's why. It's because they're scared that people are going to realize, holy crap, the women can actually put on a goddamn show. The women can put on a goddamn good match and not have it just be a women's match, but a damn good wrestling match. I'll give you some examples. Io Shirai and Candice LeRae last year at TakeOver Toronto 2. Incredible match. Great stuff. Didn't have to go like 30, 40 fucking minutes to make it work like some of the men's matches. And I'm not knocking. Some people like those matches, and that's fine. I think those matches get a little bit overdone in any company. No match needs to go 40 or 50 minutes unless you're having it be the blow-off of a feud, in my personal opinion. But they had an incredible match. Women's War Games match was goddamn good. Some of the women's matches on weekly NXT have been good. Now, not everything has been good in a 2-hour program. You go with the hot angle. I am also not saying that they need to have an equal amount of women's matches per men's matches on shows. You go with the hot feud. You don't ignore the women, but you don't just shoehorn them in and say, hey, we have all these women, and you put women out there before they're ready to be on TV. Because then that's counterproductive, and then that makes the fans think, well, I mean, they're featuring all these women, but a lot of these women aren't all that good. Maybe I'm not going to bother watching that. Feature the women properly. Feature them right. Show that these women can do some great things. Build up some feuds. Build up some personal stuff. I like the Tegan Knox Dakota Kai feud. I know a lot of people don't. I think that's an example of what you do with a personal feud. That's an example of having best friends feuding, and it at least makes more sense than, some of the others. And as much as I love Natty, I love Natalya. A lot of her feuds boil down to them just doing the same creative thing. We used to be best friends and now we're fighting. Natty's an incredible performer. She's a pretty decent promo. She's a very likable person. She is somebody that is very, very good in the ring and can have some good matches. She had a good match with Naomi at SummerSlam 2017. Short women's title reign, unfortunately. I was hoping she would keep it a little bit longer, but she did get to hold it for a little bit longer than I think I originally anticipated. I actually thought they were going to have her drop it in a month. Thankfully, she kept it for 2.5, almost 3. Natty's a great performer and can do a whole lot better. Somebody that has improved under the umbrella, Dana Brooke. Dana Brooke is somebody they could build. They could have. I mean, she's not going to take the title off of Bayley, but imagine that story. Imagine if they did have her do that. Imagine if they built that up. Because they took Naomi, all due respect to Naomi, in 2017, from virtually nothing with what she was doing, all the way to being Alexa Bliss at Elimination Chamber. She had to relinquish the title due to injury. And I say injury because I know she was injured, but they've had so many other people keep titles for when they haven't been able to defend them for 30 days, and they only implement the 30-day rule when I guess they want to create some drama. But then she won the title in Orlando and went on and had a pretty damn good run. Outside the fact she had to feud with Lana, which was atrocious. But at least Naomi got to be champion. Hopefully she gets to be champion this year. There's a lot of good potential with what they're doing with the women's division. The problem is management doesn't give a fucking shit. Vince McMahon does not care. Look at Raw. Look at a lot of the women's matches. Charlotte has just eaten Sarah Logan alive. Not literally. I mean, that would be cannibalism. But she has basically eaten her alive in matches. I understand they want to build Charlotte up and everything. She won the Women's Royal Rumble. She's probably going to challenge Rhea Ripley. In fact, she's either going to show up on this week's NXT in the closing, or in the contract signing and say, hey, I'm either going to face you, Bianca, or you, Rhea, and that's going to be hanging over their heads. Or Charlotte shows up and challenges Rhea after Rhea beats Bianca at TakeOver Portland. Unless they have Bianca suddenly win, and then, Charlotte takes it from Bianca, and then that opens up a whole nother can of worms that I'm not going to get into here. But there's some ways they can make this work. The women have been working extremely hard to get this shit done. Bruce Pritchard doesn't give a goddamn shit, as I've said. Vince McMahon doesn't give a goddamn shit about most of them. Maybe Heyman does. I don't know. But then you go to the tag team division. The fucking tag team division. That I like the idea of it because it gave the women more things to do. They botched it completely by having Bayley and Sasha win it instead of having the Iconics win, even though they won them at Mania 35. I almost said 34. Mania 35, they didn't do anything with them. They were barely featured on TV, which is unfortunate because the Iconics are they're a talented enough duo and a good enough gimmick that you could have done something with them had you actually tried. They didn't want to try. Then Alexa and Nikki win them. And then Asuka and Kairi win them. Asuka and Kairi have been the best, tag team champions in this revamped version of the women's tag team division, which goes all the way back to like the late 80s when the Jumping Bomb Angels and the Glamour Girls were fighting over the titles. Pretty good stuff. But the main crux of the issue that I have with this shit is the fact that the women feel so underutilized when they shouldn't be. The Women's Royal Rumble. Now I'm going to get into the Women's Royal Rumble and I'll come back and wrap around on some of this stuff. But the Women's Royal Rumble had a lot of good in it. It did. There were ones I was not a fan of. I didn't get why Kelly Kelly was included. I think you could have included Victoria, quite frankly. Nothing against Kelly Kelly. I already stated my opinions on her. But Victoria, give her one last moment. But that aside, the Women's Royal Rumble had a great performance by Bianca. She did an incredible job. Shayna coming in and eliminating people at number 30. That was good stuff. There was other good stuff going on in that match. You know, the women were working pretty damn hard and actually had the crowd pretty much up. So here's where it's going to get controversial because I know some people are going to disagree with me and think that I'm just going a little bit too overboard. If you watched the review that myself and the Durbinator did of the Rumble, and you should if you haven't, we got very upset about the Santino spot when he was Santina. Now I'm going to tell you why I got upset. I'm going to expand a little bit on this in case you guys don't understand. You need to Google Santino's comments about trans people and stuff like that. You know, trans people and comments like that, I mean. It's like that kind of subject matter. Because I can't do it justice. I'm not going to repeat the stuff he said here. Everybody can have their opinion if they want. There are people that have the opinion of Nyla Rose, and I'll be honest about Nyla Rose. I think as far as seasoning, she needs some more seasoning as a performer. But I think as a powerhouse and as somebody who is a legit monster, bigger than the other women, not fat, but bigger than the other women, just genetics-wise, use that and build her up, make her champion, and then have her do the job for somebody that you want to build up as a proper babyface. But I digress. Back to the whole Santina spot. Here's why it bothered me. I understand the people that are going with the mindset that, when that character was introduced, the WWE didn't care about the women's division, and they're trying to show that they care about the women's division now. And Beth Phoenix, who, by the way, Beth Phoenix is a goddamn warrior there, bleeding from the back of the head. I mean, I know head wounds bleed pretty badly, and she seemed okay, so hopefully she is. She was doing commentary on NXT, so clearly she wasn't affected too much, but which is good because it was very, very scary. And again, head wounds do bleed badly. But yes, Beth Phoenix faced off and just looked angry. And then Santino eliminated himself because he was so scared, like, oh God, these women aren't like the other women. He eliminated himself. Here's my problem with that. One, Santino's comments. Santino has shown himself to be a non-progressive, transphobic individual. And with his comment, not even that character, people dressed in drag for a while. You had not Jimmy Garvin, but Ronnie Garvin dress up as Miss Atlanta Lively in the Jim Crockett promotion era. They've had managers, wrestlers dress up in drag for angles and stuff like that since. I mean, you had, I believe he was still Miss Atlanta Lively in a angle with Ric Flair before or just during the Great American Bash 1987. So I get it when you have a talented performer that can do some shit. With Santino, he was a goddamn comedy joke that never deserved to be in the wrestling business, and Jim Cornette was right for what he did. And the Boogeyman should have been allowed to do what he wanted to Santino for laughing at that character. Because at least the Boogeyman looked like a goddamn athlete. What did Santino look like? A joke. He looked like a fucking joke. He put a sock on his hand and did this and did the Cobra thing. Oh, Mick Foley did the sock thing. Mick Foley was a talented performer and seems to understand, things better, even with his brain being complete mush, than, Santino ever could hope to. So let's go back with the Santino character, or the Santina character, back into 2009. You had the women's battle royal that Kid Rock did the introduction for, and I'm sure that Kid Rock probably hit on every single woman there, including Santina, because Kid Rock doesn't discriminate, unless, well, if you've seen his Hall of Fame speech, actually, he does discriminate quite a bit. So we get to that match. You have a bunch of women that probably shouldn't have been in the ring. I think even Sunny was in the ring, but that being said, showing that there were so many talented women there. Victoria, Mickie James, I believe Molly Holly was brought back for that. There were other women in there. So many others I'm not really going to go into. Candice Michelle wasn't. She was injured. She was at ringside, I believe, ringing the bell with Mae Young, I believe. So, Santino wins there, addresses Santina, and they do this whole thing where, he's either himself or he's in drag. Oh, it's his sister, Santina, and they're doing all this, and they're making him miss WrestleMania and everything, and smacking the women in the goddamn face. Because even though the women's division, I believe, you had the Divas. Well, actually, I think the Divas Championship was around at that point. You had the Divas and you had the women's title around, and that's what you had happen. Instead of actually utilizing your women better, you just threw them in a battle royal and you had a man win it, and you wonder why so many of the women either wanted to leave or felt so demoralized. That is a slap in the face. It took years for the women to build things back up into, fight, scratch, claw, to get back, to being respected. Because that right there can cripple it. WWE basically made the fans want to hate the women. Now, yeah, sure, okay, they put Sable out there. You go to a whole other thing where they put out, Sable out there, and that's what they want to see. They don't want to see the women wrestle. Well, no, if you condition the audience to think that women can't actually wrestle and they just want to be eye candy, that's what a lot of fans are going to think. Now, that's not what all fans thought. Some fans wanted to see wrestling, but like Trish, Victoria, and others years before had to do that. So, you go from the Battle Royal, you do this horrible thing with Santina and Vicky Guerrero, and Vicky, that's a whole other can of worms right there. But then you drop the character eventually. Thank fucking Christ, because the character was fucking atrocious. So now you suddenly, after having the women have the first ever Women's Royal Rumble in 2018, and then had some, a couple feature matches at WrestleMania 34, and then kept building and building and building. They had Evolution in 2018. Goddamn good pay-per-view, all things considered. Not really hyped all that well, but all things considered. Ups and downs, especially Charlotte and Becky was pretty damn good, but other matches on the undercard were pretty good, and Ronda Rousey worked with a tomato can in the main event. And that's what I'm going to say, and that's all I'm going to say about that main event right there. You build up from Survivor Series, Charlotte and Ronda Rousey after Becky got injured. Becky wins the Royal Rumble, Becky wins the main event. And you do all this stuff with the feuds and everything, and sure, after Ronda Rousey left, you kind of had the bad booking and everything, but women were still being featured, and they were still kind of being taken seriously, despite all the bad creative. And then you have this incredible performance by Bianca Belair, you have all this stuff going on, and then you bring the Santina character out. So you couldn't bring Kaylee Ray, you couldn't bring other ones. I like saying Kaylee Ray's name like that, by the way, because it makes me feel, it just amuses me. I don't know why. Even though Kaylee Ray with one punch could send my brain flying, into the next stratosphere, as opposed to the first stratosphere. I digress on that. They could have had Kaylee Ray there. They could have Piper Niven. They could have had so many others. They could have Vanessa Bourne. I mean, I'm not trying to knock Vanessa Bourne, but it's just Vanessa Bourne hasn't been featured all that much on TV. But hey, put her in there. If you're going to have somebody just eliminate themselves quickly, have her get in a few shots and get tossed out, then at least Vanessa Bourne's there in the match. Something. They didn't have Tegan Nox and Dakota Kai feud at all, which was really goddamn ridiculous. Chelsea Green got eliminated early. But going to the whole thing with Santino. Him dressed as Santina, after the comments he made, if he had never said those comments, if he had never, shown himself to be a transphobic goddamn monster, then sure. It still would have been stupid because it wasn't funny. The character wasn't funny then, and it's not funny now. And it shows a blatant lack of respect for the women. I'm sure that Naomi was probably not very happy. I'm sure a lot of the women probably weren't happy. Now, I don't know. According to reports, you don't know how true it actually is, but a lot of the women probably weren't very happy with that. that a man was included in the Rumble. Now, people could say, oh, but Nia Jax was included in the men's Royal Rumble last year. China, 1999. China, 2000. Beth Phoenix, 2007. Or 2010. 2010. And there might be one other that I'm missing. If I'm missing one other, I do apologize right there. That being said, those women being involved in the men's Royal Rumble made sense. Because Beth especially could take out a lot of men, closer to her size. China, working with the men was a whole lot better. Because physically, she could work better with the men than she could with the women. Especially the women they had at that time, all due respect to some of the talented women. Nia Jax, working with the men. While I wasn't the biggest fan of it, it made sense. Because physically, she looked like she could match up with some of the men. The thing with Santina, is it was a slap in the face to all the women. And here is why it was. It went back to an era that fans want to forget. Because they already made this mistake with the Fabulous Moolah Memorial Battle Royal name that everybody had backlash on. And if you want to defend Moolah, fine, cool, defend Moolah. I don't fucking care. Fabulous Moolah's a piece of shit. I hope she's burning in hell for what she did to all those women. If you like the Santina spot, fine. I'm not going to knock you. I'm not going to knock you at all. You guys deserve to like whatever you want to like. It's cool. I didn't like it. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I liked it. If it were up to me, Santino would have never been involved in wrestling, period, because I don't think that he was ever any good at it. And he was basically a comedy joke character. No matter what skills he may have had, the guy always seems scuzzy to me. So you throw this character in there. Beth automatically looking pissed, and he eliminates himself, he can't take it, it's all this comedy. If you had R-Truth come out there and do that, as much as I kind of knock all the 24/7 stuff, have R-Truth come out there. Oh, my bad. And then he gets blindsided. And have Nia Jax come back. Or have Ruby Riott come back. Or fucking hell, do something with somebody else. But you do this, it brings the mood down of the Rumble. Even though it was only like a 1-minute comedy spot. It wasn't any good. It just took so much steam out of the match. And then what really took the steam out of the match was Charlotte winning. But even then, Charlotte was going to eventually win a Women's Royal Rumble. It shouldn't have happened this year. It should have been Shayna. But they're going to get to Shayna versus Becky probably at some point. What bothers me about how they booked the women's division, it's not all doom and gloom. There's positives in it. There are women working hard, but they're having, again, to scratch and fight and claw against, Vince and his cronies, his goddamn idiotic cronies. Even Heyman hasn't been booking the women all that well. The whole Liv Lana thing has been pretty goddamn ridiculous. I'm amazed it took me that long to get to it because you got Liv, who's super talented, Lana, who's not. She's just not at all, but you can serve a purpose even if you can't wrestle. Except if you're Sable, she never could. But at least you could come up with a decent feud, and they can't do that. You got Asuka and Kairi, they're its tag team champions, and Asuka and Becky had a pretty damn good match for the Raw Women's Championship at the Royal Rumble. Bayley and Lacey had a good match, for the SmackDown Women's Championship at the Royal Rumble. There are positives with the women. I thought the Women's Royal Rumble 75-80% good, and then it started to drag down, especially once Charlotte got involved. Because once it became obvious we were getting down to that, once it got down to her and Shayna, I'm like, oh, fucking hell, Charlotte's going to win. And she did. But at least, thank God they didn't have Santina win. They had Santina win. They might as well just shut the women's division down right there. What they need to do, and what Vince needs to realize, the women can main event. Now, the women should not main event every single thing. The women should not have 5 matches on every single pay-per-view. Build the feuds right, and fans will want to see 3 women's matches on various pay-per-views. Maybe one on the pre-show if you don't think it can fit in, and the 2 championship matches. You feature the championships on every single pay-per-view, and guess what? You have something that fans can invest in. If you don't, and you just say, oh, they're women, let's shove them out for the sake of women, no one's gonna care. And no one should care. So, also, just one more goddamn thing. If you guys think that they could book the women's division better, please offer your thoughts in the comments because I would like to know. I'm not going to get as angry as I usually get except for the Santina spot because honestly, I just want the women to be used better. However I feel about any of the women, even my least favorites, I just want them to be utilized better because if they're just featured in short matches and all this bullshit, it's going to go right back to what it was about 10 years ago. 15 years ago, stuff like that. It's going to be maybe 1 or 2 women, and then everybody else is just going to be scrubs. NXT, NXT UK are featuring their women properly, but even then, if eventually they get stale, they got to move on, and then what's going to happen when Creative or Raw and SmackDown just don't care? And also, one more thing before I go. The whole idea of removing women from the NXT Women's Championship, here's where I'm going to have one bit of backlash on that. It's not shameful to be a woman. There's nothing wrong with having a women's championship. If you want to really do that, you could call it the NXT Championship, but then call the men's the NXT World Championship, because then it just gets confusing. It just does. And no, not like, Rhea's going to challenge Adam Cole or something like that. Actually, I wouldn't mind seeing that match. But the intergender wrestling, I'm not the biggest fan of. I've done a rant about that already. Don't just make it where, don't remove the term women just because you think you're being progressive. Here's an idea. Maybe include, maybe just include women, but also realize that something doesn't just have to be a great women's match. It can be a great match. Build it up properly. People will love it, regardless of whether it's the women or men wrestling. But anyway, that's all I gotta say. Agree, disagree with what I said. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. And I'm John Ritlin, and I'll see you soon.